Hello all, so we're going to look at this 20 marker on focus groups. Focus groups as a 20 hasn't actually come up before, so I'm just adapting this item. So when we get our 20 marker, we have 35 minutes to complete it in the exam, and my suggestion to help support it is we always use this pervert structure, P-E-R-V-E-R-T. Okay, so practical, theory, but okay, so the T is theory, and with this one I'm going to start with the definition. So a focus group is a group interview of between 4 to 9 respondents. So they always want a definition. So focus group is a group interview of between 4 to 9 respondents. Start off with who favours it. It's favoured by interpretarists as it enables them to look at individuals, meanings and motives. Look at individuals, meanings and motives, and take a micro or small scale approach. So favoured by interpretarists because it enables them to look at individuals, meanings and motives, and take a micro or very small scale approach. However, we always need the oppositional, get marks for that. However, focus groups are not favoured by positivists. However, focus groups are not favoured by positivists as it doesn't, or as this method doesn't enable them to establish patterns and trends or take a macro or large scale approach. So it's not favoured by positivists because it doesn't enable them to establish patterns and trends or take a macro or large scale approach. Okay. Practical, which is time, money, and the ability to gain access to a sample. So, focus groups are incredibly time consuming. Focus groups are incredibly time consuming. So they're a qualitative method with open questions. So they're incredibly time consuming because they're a qualitative method with open questions. So they're much more time consuming, and they have costs due to paying an interviewer. They also have costs because they often have to pay an interviewer, and due to having to travel. So they have costs due to having to pay and having to travel to conduct the interviews. So, time, it's very time consuming. Cost, because they have to pay an interviewer and the cost of travel. However, they can access groups that are considered deviant or hard to reach. However, they can access groups that are considered deviant or hard to reach. For example, in the item, we can see that New Age, in the item, we can see that new travellers are suspicious of outsiders. So New Age travellers are suspicious of outsiders, and particularly researchers. Conducting a focus group can gain access to these respondents. Conducting a focus group can gain access to these respondents, and they are likely to feel more comfortable. So they're likely to feel more comfortable as they are interviewed as a group. So they're likely to feel more comfortable because they're interviewed as a group. So meaning they will already have or build a rapport. So they're likely to have or they'll build a rapport or a relationship. And this increases the validity. So they're likely to gain access to these deviant or hard to reach groups. And when we're conducting the focus groups, respondents are likely to feel more comfortable as they're interviewed as a group. So they've already got a rapport, they'll build a rapport relationship, and this increases the validity. It's more truthful. As respondents speak to each other rather than the interviewer. So remember, they're in a circle generally, and they're talking to each other about their experiences. So they've already got a rapport, they're going to build a rapport or relationship, and they're speaking to each other rather than an interviewer. So it's more natural, much more of a natural conversation than an interview. So I've incorporated the item. I've popped access there with a little bit of validity. Okay, the E now. The E now is ethical issues. So the E now is ethical issues. And with focus groups, we're going to pop in Bunzel. And with Bunzel, when she conducts her focus groups, she provides a statement of intent. She provides a statement of intent. So it outlines all aspects of the research. It outlines all aspects of the research. So respondents can give fully informed consent. Respondents will give fully informed consent. She gives all of the respondents anonymity. She gives all of the respondents anonymity, so no names, and confidentiality. She says 6 UK gyms. So she gives them a statement of intent. She outlines all aspects of the research. So they've got all fully informed consent. She says anonymity, no names, and confidentiality. So she says 6 UK gyms. This adheres to the British Sociological Association's guidelines and increases the validity. And it increases the validity as respondents know their identities are protected. They'll answer more truthfully if they know that their identities are protected. However, respondents are given the right to withdraw. However, respondents are given the right to withdraw. This reduces the sample size or group. It reduces the sample size or group, and therefore reduces the representativeness. So ability to account for key differences based on class, gender, and ethnicity. So because we've lowered the sample size by letting them withdraw, it reduces the representativeness, class, gender, ethnicity, and ability to generalize or apply results. So she gives them fully informed consent. Just going to say, so however, here as well though, that the researcher can't ensure that other respondents in the focus group, but the researcher, I'm just thinking, can't ensure that the other respondents in the focus group will keep the contents of the focus group confidential. So they can't guarantee that the contents of the focus group will be kept confidential with other they come with focus groups more content of, so they can't ensure that other respondents in the focus group will keep the contents of the focus group confidential, and this might decrease the validity. So I might say, like, we're going to keep this confidential, this won't be shared, but that doesn't stop in a group setting from you also repeating it when you get outside. So rep and gem. So focus groups can access larger samples. They can access larger samples or groups compared with other interview methods. They can access larger samples or groups and other interview methods. For example, in Holden's study, he can interview 43 women and 23 men in 8 focus groups. This means focus groups are more representative. They can account for differences. They're more representative, they can account for differences, and are more generalizable. Can apply results than other qualitative interviews, because the structured interviews also an interview and it's way more representative. However, they still have open questions and are time consuming, and therefore the sample sizes are not as large compared with quantitative methods, and they're not as large compared with quantitative methods. So are not as representative or generalizable. That's rep and gem. Validity. So focus groups, again, have open questions where respondents can fully explore the topic in their own words. They can fully explore the topic in their own words. This increases the validity. It's more truthful or accurate. They can fully explore the topic in their own words. It's more truthful and more accurate. Respondents can build a rapport or relationship. And I'm just going to repeat this point. It's like a natural conversation as respondents talk to each other rather than an interviewer. They talk to each other rather than an interviewer. This increases the validity. As respondents feel more comfortable. As respondents feel more comfortable. For example, in Jackson's study on lad culture in higher education, respondents stated that their institutions could do more. Respondents stated that their institutions could do more to tackle sexual harassment. This suggests respondents were comfortable. It suggests respondents were comfortable enough to give highly honest and valid answers. Highly valid answers if you're saying your institution could do far more than they would do in. However, with focus groups, there is an interviewer effect. However, focus groups, there can be an interviewer effect where the interviewer's characteristics can have an impact on respondents' answers. Where interview effect where the can have an impact upon respondents' answers. So, for example, their gender, ethnicity, or class. And this can reduce the validity. As respondents can give socially desirable answers. So respondents can give more socially desirable answers because of the interviewer, because of the focus group there, the interviewer characteristics can have an impact on respondents' answers. Reduce the rate on respondents' answers and other respondents' presence. So the interviewer and other respondents' presence can reduce the validity. Respondents can give more socially desirable answers. So the other E, I've got the item, incorporated it, linked the item to validity. I've got Bunsell linked to rapport, feeling more comfortable, and I've got Holden linked to being more rep and Jen. Last R is reliability. Well, it's not. Focus groups are not reliable. Focus groups are not reliable. They have open questions. Focus groups are not reliable. They have open questions. So respondents don't approximate answers. So cannot give the same or similar. Respondents have to approximate, they don't approximate their answers. So they cannot give the same or similar if repeated. Cannot give the same or similar if it's repeated. So those are all the paragraphs. Again, I've kind of put this in a planning structure, but this is literally what I would write in the exam. So any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.